Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the midweek weather update. This is Flagler Weather Info, and we'll be briefing on the nor'easter that will be affecting us in Flagler County for the last second part of the week. The first, we're going to talk about the tropics, and we have Hurricane Imelda here that kind of buzzed us a few days ago, and it's moving off to the northeast, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then X storm Umberto, which is further on up and also moving off to the northeast. And we got a couple other disturbances here in the tropics, but the National Hurricane Center is not watching any of those. So at this point in time, no concern with any of that activity. However, what is going on here, we have a front that's kind of stalled across the area. And that's going to be the genesis of the weather as we go into the next several days here. But let's go and talk tropics a little bit so we can take a look at what's going on. Let's get back out to Imelda. And you can see right now is Imelda. It is closing in on Bermuda. It's likely going to pass pretty close, if not right over the top of it. And then it'll transition to an ex-tropical cyclone as it moves across the North Atlantic waters, rapidly moving away from us. And Umberto has actually made that transition. It's actually become a rather large storm as it moves further away across the North Atlantic. So, with all that being said, the tropics is not really going to be our main concern. But what is going to be of interest to us is this front that's to the south of us. And you can see this Hurricane Imelda. And so, high pressure to the north and this front to the south. When we get to end of the week here, you can see a high pressure, very large high pressure system here, and this little trough of low pressure. And the pressure differences between that and this trough of low pressure is going to set the stage for a very unsettled weekend. Matter of fact, we're going to start to see the rain chances increase tonight, and it'll be pretty elevated rain chances, and then quite a bit of rain perhaps over the weekend, along with gusty winds. So, taking a look at what the National Weather Service is expecting, dangerous beach and marine impacts are expected throughout the weekend. High rip current risk is in place. High surf and small craft advisories also are in place. Extended minor to moderate tidal flooding. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Through the weekend, St. Johns River, Northeast Florida coast, and parts of the Intercoastal Waterway. And then that expands further into Georgia as we go into the end of the week. But that'll persist here. So rain chances increase Thursday through the weekend. Daily rounds of heavy rain and isolated embedded thunderstorms. Localized flood risk at the coast and low-lying locations. Let's talk about the dangerous surf conditions right now. So I had to get a little bit of water. So the main thing is going to be the rip currents there at the beaches. Surf up to 8 to 12 feet at times. Now, you might see the surfers out there. The surfers know what they're doing. It is a little risky, but the surfers know what they're doing. So you're going to see them out there in that mess. But if you're not used to the ocean, do not go in it. It is not going to be safe to be in the ocean the next few days, if not into early next week. We do have a coastal flood advisory. So if you're in Flagler Beach, pay attention to this. So we'll talk about the flood levels here in a little bit. But the eastern part of the county, so those little troublesome areas like South Flagler Avenue and South 23rd Street, Beverly Beach, right along the Intercoastal Waterway there. Any of those really low-lying areas along Flagler Avenue in Flagler Beach, on both north and south, more so south, you potentially could see some tidal flooding as we go into the next few days ahead. We've actually had some earlier today, and we're going to take a look at flood gauges and stuff here in just a moment. If you're going offshore, be advised a small craft advisory remains in place. And we already talked about the tropics. So let's get right on into the meat of things here. So the main concern is going to be the rainfall. So for tonight, we're looking at rain chances increasing to about 60% over here, especially along the eastern side. So it's been a relatively dry day, but that's going to be changing. And so you can see those rain chances increasing over here in Flagler Beach and over here in east of US 1. The further closer you are to the beaches, the better the rain chances are going to be. Now, tomorrow, we're going to see those rain chances still elevated, about 60%. And then as we get into Friday, and actually tomorrow night, they stay elevated. And in fact, a little higher, about 65%. And as we get into Friday, now we're getting on 70% chances of rain through today on Friday. It's not going to rain the entire day. It'll come in rounds. There'll be breaks in it. But when it does rain, it could be locally heavy. And then as we get into Friday night, those rain chances stay elevated, about a 60% chance. Beaches, and less chances as you go inland. And then as we go into Saturday, we're looking about an 80% chance of passing showers, rain, maybe some thunderstorms thrown in. And then as we go into Saturday night, those rain chances stay elevated, about 70% chance. And then as we go into Sunday, which is Pink Army 5K, hopefully we can get that event off. Another 80% chance of very heavy rain in some places. I'm going to show you some rainfall amounts here, what's expected in just a moment. And so those rain chances stay with us. Monday is still about a 70% chance. And then Tuesday, we start to come down a little bit to about a 50% chance. How much rain are we going to get? Next 24 hours, maybe half inch. Next 2 days, inch and a half. Next 3 days, 2 to 3 inches. This takes us into Saturday afternoon. Now through Sunday, look at this. Now we're looking at 3 to 4 inches of rain. This is now through Sunday. 3 to 4 inches of rain from US 1 all the way to the beaches. And anywhere in here, and there could be some locally heavier amounts than what's being displayed here. This is what is expected to be average, but there could be some much heavier amounts. We get into Monday now. Now we're talking 4 to 6 inches of rain. We're getting into by Wednesday, 6 to 8 inches of rain. Chiefly from about US 1 to the beaches. And again, there will be some heavier amounts in here. And now 6 to 8 inches of rain over 7 days isn't really that big of a deal. But what could be a problem if you get a lot of it in a short amount of time, which is very possible in this scenario. There will be some places that may get extreme amounts of rain, and it's a few miles up the road, they're not getting that much. So, but this is the rainfalls for the next 7 days. 6 to 8 inches, especially on the eastern side of the county. So if you've got any swimming pools, you might need to lower a little bit, that kind of thing. You might want to consider doing that. So let's talk about the winds, because this is a nor'easter and there will be winds involved. For tomorrow, we stay gusty with winds gusting up to about 30 miles an hour at the beaches, about in the 20s inland. As we get to Friday, still gusting to about 30 miles an hour along the coast. Now, I've seen some forecasts where it's been gusting up to 40 miles an hour. They've lowered the winds a little bit, but this wind forecast can be tweaked, so it could get adjusted again. Sunday, we're gusting into the 20s. Monday, we're gusting into the 20s, and then we're gusting into the 20s again on Tuesday. So it looks like the breezier day looks to be tomorrow and maybe into Friday. So all of these factors are going to be driving a risk of flooding, and I'll get into that in just a moment. So we'll do a quick look at temperatures, because with all the cloud cover and the unsettled weather, we're going to see, temperatures generally not terribly warm. So tonight, lows in the 70s. Tomorrow, highs in the lower 80s. 70s Thursday night, Friday morning. And then as we go into, it's going to be kind of a wet day on Friday, so highs will struggle to get into the 80s. And then same with Saturday, struggle get into the 80s. And then again on Sunday, lows at night generally staying in the 70s. And again, for anyone just coming on board, the one main thing I want you to take away from this forecast is the amount of rain that we're looking to see here in Flagler County. So again, 6 to 8 inches now through Wednesday. And most of these locations, especially east of US 1. And again, there could be some heavier amounts in this mix as well. So let's go ahead and talk about flooding and the concerns of that. So this is the Bing's gauge, which is up in the hammock there. And right now we are currently in action flood stage, and we're coming into another high tide here. But earlier today it got up to moderate flood stage, and usually when we get to moderate is when we start to see problems in Flagler Beach. So we're have to watch and see if we're going to get there again. This coastal flood advisory is in place at least until Friday, and they may extend it beyond that. And if we get the elevated tides, we're coming into the moon cycle again, where we can get those elevated tides. If we get that along with the heavy rain, that could cause some issues with tidal flooding, especially in the intercoastal waterway. Looking at Bulow Creek, and wait for that to load up, and that actually just barely touched moderate. Looks like it's on its way down now. It's in minor flood stage, but this may flux. So again, I want to caution folks, if you're in one of those low-lying areas that floods when we had these tides, that just because it's going down now, you might not be out of the woods with that. Going up to Palisade Creek, up by Princess Place, we're also in minor flood stage up there. And again, we were getting towards moderate, came back down, but it could go back up, especially with the rainfall that's expected. Haw Creek, west side of the county. So right now, we have been a slow decline, but now it's starting to come back up. And we're now just getting into minor flood stage. And looking at Shell Bluff, out here at Crescent Lake, and you can see that definitely an uptick in that, and we'll probably see that continue to go up as we get more rainfall, especially if we do get that 6 to 8 inches of rain, because all that water's got to go somewhere. And so anyway, so we have across the county, we have 3 locations that are in minor to moderate flood stage and 1 at action stage right now. And so these numbers are going to fluctuate as we go through the next several days. So let's go ahead and talk about the long-range forecast. So taking a look at the month of October, and let's get over there real quick. So the month of October, looking for probably close to normal, maybe just slightly above normal precipitation and above normal temperatures. Now getting more narrowed down next 6 to 10 days to October 11th. Temperatures above normal can be expected on the average, and precipitation above normal. Now, as we go into further into the future, taking us to October 15th, we are looking at above normal temperatures and above normal precipitation. So it looks to stay warm and somewhat unsettled as we go through the next first couple weeks of October rather. So looking at the beaches, high risk of rip currents at the beaches. Surf temperature is about 83 degrees. Surf running up to as high as 12 feet. It's not like that all the time, but it has that potential to get there. Just be aware of that. UV index is high. So the last water temperature reading I saw, they're showing 75 to 80, but I actually saw a reading the other day where it was 83 at the one of the piers. So lower 80s for the water temperatures. So that's going to wrap it up. Again, if you missed it, you can rewatch it. We'll also post a link to our YouTube channel of this weather briefing. You can watch it there as well, or you can just hit rewind. So again, in short, a lot of rain on the way, possibly up to 6 to 8 inches over the course of the next 7 days. Everybody out there, have a great evening, and we will chat at you. Unless something special happens, we'll probably chat at you over the weekend.